reserved for our walk in this world.
Well, good Thursday morning to you. Hope that it's a great day today. Sun is shining today. It's still pretty cool, but a beautiful day nonetheless. And again, just hope that you're having a great day today on this Thursday. We are going to talk about grace today. Have you ever run into someone that you know in an unfamiliar setting or an unfamiliar context? You know, somewhere you're not used to seeing them. You know, maybe you saw your third grade teacher in the grocery store, or you ran into your dentist at a basketball game, or you run into somebody that's kind of out of context. And oftentimes it takes us a few minutes to sort of place that person, even somebody that you know or you would know immediately in a different surrounding, in an unfamiliar surrounding. Takes us a few minutes sometimes to process and place that person and who they are. It can be difficult, you know, sometimes to recognize a person who shows up in an unlikely place. Well, grace essentially can work the same way. In Genesis chapter 39, we see the grace of God show up in an unlikely location. And that location is, in fact, a prison cell. Excuse me. Although the New Testament reveals the grace of salvation in Jesus Christ, the grace of God toward humanity is seen all throughout the Scripture. The Old Testament often uses the word favor to describe God's kindness. And in this particular passage in Genesis chapter 39, we see Joseph receive God's favor. You remember Joseph was falsely accused and put into prison for something he didn't do. He was put into prison because he was accused by Potiphar's wife for trying to have a sexual relationship with her, when in fact she was the one trying to instigate it, and he continued to turn her down. And so in a moment of revenge, when she was trying to persuade him, she grabbed his cloak, and he slipped out of the cloak and left the house immediately. And she was holding the cloak and falsely accused him and said, "Look, he left his clothes here. He was trying to get at me," and was falsely accused. So he's put into prison under false pretenses. You know, it didn't. You know, prison for Joseph probably didn't feel like a blessing from God. You know. He's gone from being his father's pride and joy, his father's favorite, to being framed and to be imprisoned falsely and under false pretenses. And so when he's sitting in jail, is he tempted to give in to bitterness, frustration, anger? I think that any one of us would probably have to admit that we would certainly be tempted to give in to those things, to be bitter about our situation, because you know, boy, we've been through a lot. You know, brothers took me and put me in a hole in the ground and took my coat that my dad gave me and then sold me to some stranger I didn't even know, and now I'm here in Egypt, and I was kind of getting my feet under me, and I was doing well as Potiphar's servant. He'd put me in charge of everything, had a great job, great position, and now here I am falsely accused and put into prison for something I didn't do. It'd be easy to get bitter, wouldn't it? Be easy to get frustrated and angry, and really hard to look at our situation there as a blessing. I mean, he doesn't know that his brothers have deceived his father. So, you know, is he left wondering why Jacob isn't coming to his rescue? He doesn't know what happened on that side of it. And so just, you know, all these thoughts running through his head. But what we do see as we continue to read the story is that God is with him. We read and we understand that prison allows Joseph to come in contact with the Pharaoh's baker and the Pharaoh's cupbearer, and he interprets their dreams. And eventually, because of that, he becomes second in command to Pharaoh. Pharaoh puts him in charge of all the land of Egypt. He could then at that point, because of those situations and circumstances, allowed him then to be able to encounter his brothers and to provide for his family during that long famine. And none of this would have been possible without Joseph's time in prison. And so as he would explain to his brothers, he would explain that God used his circumstances for good. And so what we learned from that story is that in our lives, we need to be sure to look for grace in unlikely places. And I think if we really look, if we really open our eyes, if we really try to stay in tune with God, that we will find that God shows us grace in very unlikely places, and places we don't realize or recognize readily. But sometimes when situations and circumstances seem hard or impossible, whenever those things end up working out and we've prayed about it and when we've tried to take it to God and ask for his help, and those situations seem to work themselves out, we need to really look and recognize the grace of God in those situations and circumstances when he provides us a way out of a tough situation, or simply just walks with us and gives us the courage to walk through hard things and tough situations. We need to look and understand the grace of God in those circumstances. And so our challenge today is to think of a time when God showed us grace during a difficult time in our lives, and to say a prayer of thanksgiving to God for his kindness. God says he'll never leave us, he'll never forsake us. He asks us to come to him and to take on his yoke because it's much lighter than the burdens that we try to carry. And he promises that he will always provide a way out for us, and provide the things that we need. And I believe all of that wrapped up is a nice, neat package of grace, and the grace that God shows each and every one of us. So I want to challenge us for this week to really look at our lives, to look at our situations and our relationships, and to find and see if we can find all of those little ways that God shows us the special grace in a way that only God can show us grace. Love you guys. Hope that you have a great day. We'll talk to you next time.
They resound with God's own heart. Oh, let the ancient words impart words of life, words of hope.